Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sarva Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome everyone to our Panchadasi class. We are unfolding the verse on the creation, and as we may recall, it was a very subtle but elegant and intelligent logic presented by Isvara to the rishis about how consciousness, non-dual consciousness, somehow happens to appear as the universe once Maya comes into action, brings about Isvara, Jiva, and Jagat. We looked into the first stage of creation in which consciousness is shining on the aspect of Prakriti, which is predominantly sattvic. So we saw that produce the intelligent, efficient cause of the universe. In other words, it produced Ishvara, the all-knowing, the omniscient. And then we also looked and saw that the second stage is when consciousness shines in what is called the impure Prakriti. Impure Prakriti is Sattva Prakriti, with some inclusions of Rajas and Tamas. So when we have the Rajas Pradana Prakriti reflect or shining with consciousness, and then that produce the Jiva, the Karana Shahira. It produces Avidya, this personal ignorance experienced by all human jivas. That is when Sattva Guna is somehow mixed up with Rajas and Tamas, and then consciousness is going to shine as the Jiva. And we have looked into that extensively, and about the Chidabhasas as the reflect consciousness. So we stopped in here, and we begin today from the stage number 3, which is the Prakriti in its predominant tamas, when it's constituted mostly by tamas. Of course, there will be some rajas and some sattva in there as well. As we have already anticipated, when the aspect of this microcosmic reflecting medium is dominated by tamas, then what happens? It happens that Ishvara, which is the knowledge that have already established the blueprint of the universe, and that's why he's the master of the universe. That's why he can manage Maya, because he's going to play with the 3 energies. And then this Ishvara, out of this aspect of it, of Maya, Prakriti, of this essential nature, so out of this tamasic, it's going to produce something that is often referred to Prakriti itself. But in that sense, Prakriti is synonymous of nature. Nature means to say the physical, manifest universe, the material, physical universe. So that is the third aspect of consciousness when it reflects on the aspect of this Maya mirror, which is dominated by tamas, and then it produces nature, let's say the universe, or Prakriti, as some prefer to refer to. non-reflecting consciousness. In this stage, Maya manufactures matter out of tamas, the existence aspect of consciousness. So tamas, as we know, it does not reflect consciousness at all. Yeah? But we know that consciousness is present because tamas exists. So all physical material objects, inert objects, we know that there is some sattva involved because every stone, every piece of earth is somehow kept together by this incredible intelligence. So this intelligence, although it does not shine with reflect consciousness because there is not enough sattva, there isn't a subtle reflector, subtle body. Although it does not move around because Rajas is suppressed in those physical material objects. But yet, although it does not move around, although it does not become aware of its environment, we know that there is consciousness because the consciousness is always there in every name and form as the intelligent cause or the designer of all names, colors, and forms. Therefore, it says that the aspect of existence of consciousness is present in all material universe, which is brought out by consciousness shining in Maya in its aspect, which is dominated by tamas, tamoguda. If it manufacture matter out of sattvic aspect, we would see consciousness reflect in material objects, but but matter absorbs rather than reflects consciousness. Matter is one eternal substance, but it evolves. We know that matter is alive because when we examine the physical material world, we see that its structure, its subatomic structure, let's say, is beautifully designed and it's alive, it's vibrant, and it's moving, and it knows its purpose in the creation. So it's not really self-conscious in the sense that it does not perceive, it does not observe us, a piece of earth or any other physical inert object is not able to watch and observe us, but we can see them. And with the help of this scriptural knowledge, we can understand that God is in them because it's intelligent design and it serves its purpose, although it is not moving around and it's not noticing its environment or responding. And it's absolutely necessary that we have this aspect of creation because it somehow it provides us with the structure, a solid structure, a not moving structure in which we can work our karmas, work our vasanas. Just imagine if every inert object would have enough rajas that would compel them to move around. You go, you park your car, and then the sun starts hitting your car, the car gets hot, and they say, I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to move around and I'm going to look for a shade. And then you come and you don't find your car. So if the inert objects would have a little bit more rajas, it would move around, and that would make a mess out of this structure, because we would not be relying on that, which is always there as the stage on which we do our work, we process our vasanas. And it does not reflect as well. So we cannot see knowingness, we cannot see the sentience that we see in the plants and in the other objects, like sentient objects, like all jivas, all animals and fishes and so on. We don't see that. Why? Because it does not have not only enough rajas to move around, but does not have enough sattva. So it does not reflect consciousness to become a sentient being. So it's just absorbing consciousness, so to speak, and it's there, intelligently designed, sustained by 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 Sattva, the knowledge, following its own nature, not having not even a will power to change its nature like we human jivas, Oh, I don't like myself as I am. No, I want to be something else now. No, there is no question for them. Because of Maya, reality seems to be two contradictory principles, as conscious subject and the inert object. So Maya has produced the world in which that it first produced the Isvara, the Lord, the manager, the one that is going to cook up this universe. And this universe is basically divided into two categories, sentient beings and inert beings. Sentient beings are the ones that are going to observe their environment and respond. Most of the beings, sentient beings, they respond mechanically, intuitively. They just they do that out of their fundamental nature. They respond from their causal body by the most basic principle programming. But we know that some of these objects are not responding. But and then these objects that have no responsiveness in regards to their environment, it's called objects or inert objects. And then we have the sentient objects, inert objects, and the absolutely subject, which is consciousness. And then, as we know, these sentient objects with a certain intelligence that allows them to get a self-image of itself, the so-called ego or the human jivas. These human jivas, they confuse themselves with the self, with the absolute subject, and they develop a totally subject view of the world, and they can't see themselves objectively as just an agent, just an experiencing entity, a knowing entity. They lose that objectivity in regards to their own body mind complex, because they believe to be the absolute subject. They say, no, I am the self. That's the fundamental confusion of every human being.
Arlindo, can I ask?
Please.
Sorry if I go a little bit back at the beginning, because I was reading everything again, and it says in this stage, just at the beginning, in this stage, Maya manufactures matter out of tamas, the existence aspect of consciousness. Why tamas is the existence aspect of consciousness?
Well, it's not that only inert objects or matter is the existing aspect of consciousness. It's just that matter or the inert object can be known to be consciousness by its existence. You understand? So they don't. You cannot see cheat there. Okay, cheat is the consciousness, because it does not shine with consciousness. But you can see what? Sat. You can see the existence.
It exists, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You see exists. So they are also called sadabhasas. The sentient beings, or the Jiva, they're called chidabhasas by Vidyaranya Swami, chidabhasa, because it's a chit, okay? It's a reflex of consciousness. Consciousness reflecting the Sattva body, it produces chit reflection. It's a reflection of consciousness. It is reflect consciousness, chitabhasa, okay? And the inert objects, they also reflect, but when they reflect, rather than producing knowingness, chit, it produces sat, existence, and that sat, sadabhasas. This sat goes for the existence of the universe. You understand that the material, physical aspect of the universe.
Thank you.
Okay. Matter is one eternal substance, but it evolves. We know that it's alive because it keeps, adjusting, adapting, and evolving somehow. Because Maya, because of Maya, reality seems to have two contradictory principles: a conscious subject and the inert object. So awareness cannot be called the cause of anything because reality is awareness and awareness alone. So we know that awareness does not cause anything. Awareness does not have vasanas, and without vasanas, without karma, you are not compelled to do anything. So we can look from this angle. We also know that awareness is akarta. It does not do anything because it is one without a second, as we say. So once you know that there is only you and only you, there is nothing other, there is no other aspect or factor that may invoke you to develop a relationship so that you want to come and say, hey, how are you doing today? There is not even that motivation to say hi to something that comes within yourself because there is nothing other than yourself. So awareness is not a cause of anything. It does not do anything. It's one without a second. And it's the only reality. So all this superimposition, of course, and awareness remains unaffected, and without doing anything, it remains there as the subject, witnessing, non-experiencing principle, which allows the Chidabhasa, the Jiva, yeah, to become a knower of its environment. But when Maya is taken into account, awareness seems to be causing the universe. So awareness seems to be causing the universe, but it seems is a very important word in Vedanta. It's an appearance, it's a seeminess. No? So it seems that awareness is doing because we know that nothing ever happens without awareness, but yet everything happens without awareness doing anything. So what does that mean? It means that nothing ever happens. The universe does not really happen, but it's part of a different order or a reality, which is just an appearance. Okay, that's why awareness does not do anything, because the universe is not real. It does not really exist. We say that Maya, Isvara, has created it, and it does so independently of consciousness. So consciousness is the Maya, Isvara. It depends. Maya depends on consciousness to do this trick, because without consciousness, Maya does not have its existence, because every existence resolves itself into consciousness. But the moment Maya starts doing these things, Maya is totally independent of consciousness, because consciousness is a karta. And Maya does that in a different order of reality, which is not real. So everything that happens in Mithya, it happens due to Maya. And Maya, although it borrows, so to speak, its existence, but its function is inherent to itself because it belongs to Mithya, and consciousness belongs to Satya. I don't know if it makes sense to you. When Maya is taken into account, awareness seems to be causing the universe. As such, it is an uncaused cause. So we say is the uncaused cause. So consciousness here is a very, very particular status. Not only is the only reality, but it's something that was not caused by anything else. So it means to say that there is no cause and effect, duality, cause and effect does not apply in Satya. Satya is the only reality, and it's there forever, beginningless and eternally, and it was not caused by anything, and it does not really make anything happen, but it is the cause of the universe, although it has nothing to do with it, because everything that happens, in Mithya, in this apparent reality, has its existence in consciousness because of what? It's a superimposition in the screen of consciousness. You understand? Everything owns its existence to consciousness after all. Maya too is uncaused in the sense that it's not the product of awareness. So Maya is also uncaused, it says. No? Swami Paramarthananda says, most probably following the lines of Vidyaranya in this text, and says that because Vidyaranya brought a lot into the plate in this text, and he created new terms. He kind of made distinctions between different aspects of Prakriti and so on. And so Maya as well, he says, is uncaused. It's beginningless, and it was not caused by any other factor. It means to say that the whole thing about cause and effect, when we go back in a regression, it stops at Maya. Nothing has caused Maya because awareness does not cause anything, because the awareness does not impact anything, does not interact with anything. Okay, cause, the Maya is self-propelling the whole show. You understand? That's why in its existing aspect, it depends on consciousness, but it's in its functioning aware aspect, it is itself. How you say it's self-existing, self-sufficient. Self-generating. It does things by itself. You understand? So Maya too is uncaused in the sense that it's not the product of consciousness insofar as awareness is just being. Being is. It is incapable of it. But Maya calls duality and calls action. It calls change. Change is the signature of duality. So awareness in conjunction with Maya is the cause of the creation. So we can say that awareness is the real cause of the universe, but it does so without doing anything. So, and then it requires Maya, which comes about and then produce this universe. Okay, and why awareness does not cause anything, and why it does not do anything? Because action and doing and cause and effect belongs to Mitya, and consciousness belongs to Satya. Okay, so this Satya, which is the substratum in which Mitya starts playing itself, it remains unaffected, the same way space remains unaffected. Okay, when buildings are raised within the space, so it remains unaffected, it does not do anything. But somehow, when Maya comes, we say that the universe came in a partnership of consciousness with Maya. Maya does everything, and consciousness provides the substratum, let's say. Change is the signature of duality. So consciousness in conjunction with Maya is the cause of the creation of the universe. Sometimes the text says that Ishvara controls Maya, and sometimes it says that Maya controls Ishvara. So in which way we can say, the text can say that Ishvara controls Maya? If Ishvara is a byproduct of Maya, as we know, Ishvara, Maya is this power which brings about Sattva Guna. Okay? And then once consciousness pervades Sattva Guna, the aspect of this macrocosm reflecting medium, once consciousness pervades this aspect of this reflecting medium, it brings about Ishvara. So Ishvara depends on the reflecting medium. That's very interesting. Then we say, okay, Maya, controls Ishvara because Ishvara depends on the reflecting medium. But then once Ishvara comes into play, so Ishvara becomes the all-knowing. the pure knowledge, pure intelligence, because it is consciousness which is unmanifest, which is beyond knowledge and ignorance. Once it shines in this reflecting medium, it produces, it manifests in media this phenomenon called pure knowledge, which is the association of pure limitless consciousness, which is beyond knowledge, with Sattva Guna, which is the primordial energy of this universe, of this reflecting medium. So we have Isvara come into play, depend on Maya, but once this pure knowledge comes into play, what does it do? It manage the other gunas. You understand? It just sees that out of himself, out of pure Sattva, Rajas comes above, and then Tamas comes about, and then out of these two other energies, he starts mixing up things and producing the subtle five elements, and then from there he starts creating infinite numbers of configurations of names and forms. So Ishvara, it controls, it manages Maya, okay? Although Maya is the one providing the reflector on which Ishvara comes into play, into existence, okay? In the next verse, Maya and Ishvara are equated with the causal body and ignorance. So the next in the next verse, yeah, in the next verse, Maya and Ishvara are equated with the causal body. Yeah, because once we have the development of the three basic energies in the macrocosmic, okay, and then the Ishvara is going to bring about, with the help of all the other two energies, or qualities, it's going to bring the macrocosmic causal body and the Prajna Jiva, okay, which is the unconscious Jiva, in the macrocosmic causal body. So we're going to see the development of this here in the next verse. Maya and Ishvara equate in the causal body with the causal body and Avidya. So there is a nuance there about Avidya as well. So Avidya is the ignorance is the ignorance all human jivas are afflicted with. Okay, so we say that consciousness, when it is reflecting on the rajasic aspect, or better said, on the impure aspect of Prakriti, okay, and then it produced some things, and it said it produced the Jiva, and the first stage of this development is the Prajna Jiva, okay? It has a lot of rajas, a lot of tamas, and it is unconscious, okay? And later on, it becomes conscious. So we'll see how it goes. And this is called Avidya, which is different than the nature of Prakriti, which is consciousness shining in the more conditioned by tamas aspect of this macrocosmic mirror. So we have consciousness reflecting on tamaguna, and that is going to produce, okay, the physical material universe. But we have also consciousness reflect in the rajoguna, but there is rajas and tamas, okay? And when it's reflect on rajas and tamas, we say that it's produce a vidya, okay? On sattva, it produce consciousness, all knowing. So in the reflect in the impure prakriti, which is a mixture of rajas and tamas, it produces the jiva, and we say that the jiva suffers of avidya. Avidya is something to explain the condition of the jivas, okay? And then we have the physical material universe, which is totally, let's say, ignorant. There is no question of avidya. Avidya is when there is some knowledge and some ignorance mixed together. There is some sattva, as we know, but the human jiva is the one afflicted with Avidya. Maya and Ishvara are equated with the causal body and ignorance. For all intents and purposes, both terms refer to the creator, Jagat Karanam. Okay? So Maya Ishvara, for all intents and purposes in general, they refer to the creator. Okay? A lot of the time they just use one word for both, but in some teachings, it's somehow our Mahatmas, our gurus, they tend to break it more into details. Vedanta is a complete means of self-knowledge that relies on words to remove self-ignorance. So the author, Vidyaranya Swami, in line with our tradition, is establishing the terminology at the beginning of the text so that subsequent ideas will be understandable. So the following verse establishes the fact that there is only one individual self, Jiva, not infinite individual selves. If selves are unique, Vedanta will not work to set the Jiva free. So we have one body, one teaching, okay? And this teaching should serve all Jivas. Fundamentally, all Jivas are the same phenomenon. It's an object with three bodies, afflicted with some ability to know and a lot of inability to know. I mean, knowledge and ignorance is always playing there. Okay, so but it says that there is only one individual self, Jiva, but the Jivas are also said to be many in numbers. Why? Because when we look from the microcosmic aspect of every jiva is composed but so many different parts. We have three bodies, and then we see every physical body, gross body, is made out of so many different aspects, and everyone is different. And then when we go into the subtle body, we have the the sense organs, and every sense organ is designed different. And then we have the organs of action; they are different. The pranic, the physiological system is. There are so many aspects to the jiva that makes Avidya and Jivas, I mean, infinite in numbers, although they all come from one single principle, one single phenomena, which is the eternal Jiva. Okay, we have the eternal Ishvara, the eternal Jiva, and the eternal Jagat as principles. Okay, and then within the eternal, we have this diversity of configurations of jivas and configurations of avidyas. Have you noticed that every person we meet has a different blind spot or a different kind of avidya playing out? Some people, some people they cannot really understand much of anything if we try to talk Vedanta to them, for example. So some other people have other blind spots and they can't understand other things either. So everyone is experiencing a different level of ignorance. And of course, we know that we all ignorant when we compared ourselves with Ishvara, the omniscient, the one who knows everything about everything in the universe, not only the karma of all jivas, but all the laws sustaining, and maintaining and recycling the universe. The following verse establishes the fact that there is only one individual self, jiva, not infinite individual selves. If selves are unique, Vedanta will not work to set the jiva free. So this is a fact, but at the same time, we know that the jivas are so different in their configurations that you take Vedanta and you present to 8 billion people on this planet, and it will make sense only for a few hundred or a few thousand. You understand? Why? Because every jiva is a different configuration. You understand? Therefore, they are not going to see anything in Vedanta. You know, they think that these guys are crazy. So, but the next verse is going to be work on those lines, yeah, of this concept of the eternal jiva as a principle. Okay, so it depends on the context, the perspective we are looking at the logic here. The individual embodied self is apparently conditioned by avidya, which is Avidya. Avidya is, wow, we have a subtle body, we are sentient being, so we have some knowledge, but we are not all knowing like Isvara. If we would not have almost Rajas and Tamas, we would know as much as Ishvara knows. And we will all be born enlightened because, I mean, Ishvara has self-knowledge, is self-realized, he knows, you understand? So if we would have more sattva and more raja, if we would have as much sattva and less rajas and tamas, so we would just not need to go through a Vedanta class because we will be clear about the true nature of the I, the true nature of Jagat, and so on. So we would be like Ishvara. But that's not the case because we are conditioned by avidya, which is what? Avidya is the fact that our sentience, we are created out of the reflection of consciousness in the macrocosm mirror called Maya. Now, when it's conditioned by sattva mixed with rajas and samtam. But when we come into creation, we experience our sentience with a secondary reflection, which is consciousness reflected or pervading on the subtle body of the jiva. Okay, and this subtle body of the jiva has a lot of sattva. As we know, the subtle body needs a lot of sattva. It's constituted by the five subtle elements, you know, of the sattvic aspect of the five elements. So we have the subtle elements, which somehow sticks together to create this invisible subtle body. So there is a lot of sattva involved, and that allows us to determine, yeah, to perceive and to begin making determinations and developing intelligence and so on. So we have some sattva, but as we know, we have rajas and tamas mixed up. The jiva is multi-faceted and complex due to many possible combinations of sattva, rajas, and tamas, and the five elements, and the five sheaths, and the physical body, and everything. So every jiva is going to be a unique configuration, the same way every flake of snow is different from all others. Okay? The combinations of the energies and the basic primary five elements and so on, and everything else that makes a jiva. Okay? And we have the subtle body, and then we have the intellect. The intellect, you know, is highly sattvic. The function of the internet is like, woo, you know, we need a lot of sattva there. And then the mind needs sattva as well, but the mind needs a little bit more rajas, okay? Because the mind is going to emote, give energy to, you know, to the sense organs of actions to move and so on. So every one of these aspects of our subtle body is a different configuration, no doubt about that. So therefore, the jiva is multifaceted and complex due to the many possible combinations of sattva, rajas, tamas, and all five sheaths, which have many parts. Ignorance of the self, this is the most fundamental ignorance of the self and the nature of the universe, is called the causal body. Okay? So we're going to try to understand as best as possible this concept. The ignorance of the self, I don't know what the self is, and I take the self to be my mind, my emotions, my thoughts, my ideas, and my actions and my roles. So I take the self to be the mind, the body-mind complex, basically. So the ignorance, this ignorance of the self is called the causal body. The Jiva identified with the causal body is called Prajna Jiva. Okay, so now in which way this Prajna Jiva that we know that is so often associated with the deep sleep state, you know, is called the ignorance of the self, because the ignorance in the causal body is absolute. As we know, when we go to deep sleep, we know that there is something there that's present through this deep sleep. Okay, because in retrospect we know that we were there. In retrospect we know we enjoyed the experience, and in retrospect we can infer that I only enjoy things that I have experienced and enjoyed, therefore I want to go back to deep sleep. Okay, so we know that there is someone there experience it, but this agent is so much conditioned by Thomas that is totally unaware of its I. So it is a I thought that is almost unsubstantial, you know? It's very, very, very subtle. It does not have really self-consciousness. That's why we say, we often refer to the causal body as the unconscious mind of the Jiva, okay? Which is the Prajna. The Prajna is the one who is there, totally ignorant. And as we say, total ignorance is bliss. Yeah? Total knowledge is also bliss, because Isvara is total knowledge. Yeah? And then the problem is the Jivas. And the Jivas, they experience some knowledge and some ignorance. So this Avidya is called the causal body. It's represented by the causal body. And the Jiva identified with the causal body is called Prajna. But this identification is is uh, is almost like it's symbolic, because in which way the Jiva, which is unconscious, can really identify with the causal body, except, to those individuals that have developed a certain spiritual tendency to go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is a state of not knowing. You understand? And then they get identified in retrospect. So, how many of you know people who would sleep 12 or 15 hours a day if they could? That is a sort of identification. Why? Because, I wish I could sleep because I'm not having a good time here. Okay, as a waker, I'm experiencing a lot of emotional difficulties or mental and so on. Therefore, I wish to be the deep sleeper. So this Jiva, identified with the causal body, is called the Prajna Jiva. Prajna is best represented as the state of sleepless, of dreamless sleep, or deep sleep. Deep sleep is a metaphor for avidya. It's called Deep sleep is a metaphor for avidya as well as a state of experience for jiva. So it's a metaphor. It's kind of okay. We have to determine what is avidya here. There's nothing more avidya, more ignorant than the state of deep sleep, and we know there is someone there. Okay, so it's a metaphor for avidya as well as a state of experience for the jiva. For which jiva? The prajna jiva. The prajna jiva. We know that deep sleep is not lack of experience, but it is an experience that requires an agent, and the agent experience through a different body. The body of the prajna jiva is different from the body of the Taijasa Jiva and the Vishwa Jiva. So it's through that causal body, you see, we say body, it's through that causal body that the Prajna Jiva experience, what it experienced, the absence of duality. It experienced the absence of object, and it feels very good, because if there is no duality, we are not troubled with having to exercise our free will, choosing things. Oh, shall I go for this or that? Oh, no, this I like, this I don't like, So there's nothing going on. I can be at peace. Prajna Jiva is a very subtle vrit. Vrit is a thought, the I thought, a modification in consciousness. So it manifests, and then it comes the Prajna Jiva, okay? This Avidya phenomenon represented by Prajna Jiva in its state of deep sleep. It's a very subtle thought of Vrit. It is a special transformation of the one eternal Jiva. So we have the eternal Jiva. It exists as a cement, as a seed. A cement is a Portuguese word. It exists as a seed, okay? So it exists as a potential there, and then it manifests once, Isvara starts bringing up, cooking up, configuring these energies, and then bringing about the elements, to produce this Avidya phenomenon, the Jiva. Prajna, it's a metaphor. So, Prajna is a subtle vrit and a special transformation of the eternal Jiva. It permits awareness to experience itself as limitless bliss. It is seemingly conscious. It is different from the awakened state and different from the dream state Jivas. Also, transformations of the one eternal Jiva, which are purely conscious. Okay. It allows consciousness to experience itself as limitless bliss. So we have heard it many times when we start the 5 sheaths. We hear that we get identified with the body, with the pranas and the mind and this and then the intellect. And then finally enough, some people get identified with the Anandamaya Kosha, with the causal body. So we can look at that in different ways. We can say that an individual which is constituted with a lot of tamas, it's a very tamasic individual, and it has a huge, huge value and appreciation for inertia, to apathy, to doing nothing, to procrastinate, and to sleep, to sleep, to sleep. So this we can say it's a jiva that somehow has a huge attachment, identification with deep sleep, okay? Which is a state of, it is referred here as special. Where is that part? Okay, just a moment. It allows awareness to experience itself as limitless bliss. Okay, so we know the individual in deep sleep, he can be extremely tamasic, that he may be able to sleep 12, 14, 15 hours a day. And I have met such a person, maybe more than one person has such a configuration that can sleep and sleep. And when sleeping, it's totally at ease, relaxed, you understand? But when we talk about the 5 koshas, the 5 sheaths, in the context of our spiritual growth, we are talking in terms of the individual who is basically identified with the food body, and then to another degree, it's identified with energy, with the pranas. And then it becomes also identified with the mind, with the emotions, with the actions, with the doings. Yeah? And then it gets identified with vijnana, with the intellect. Okay, and then what it means, it's redefined itself according to these 5 levels of experience by which the individual jiva defines itself. Some individual they define itself there on the yana maya vijnana. How you say? I'm mixing up the name. Oh, vijnana. Vijnana kosha, Vijnana sheaths. No, Maya. There is always Maya. All of them have the Maya because it's all a product of Maya. Vijnana Maya kosha. Okay? So the individuals that are totally identified with the intellect, and he's a genius. And then we say, okay, now the individual is going beyond the intellect and it's experienced by the means of yoga, by the means of experience, spiritual experience. You start experiencing what is often called a silence, what is called as non-duality or emptiness. Okay, so when the individual goes into those levels of extremely subtle experience, we say it is experience the Ananda Maya Kosha, okay, which is again an experience in duality, which is similar to the tamasic person, because in order to go to Ananda Maya Kosha by the means of yoga, one needs to develop a lot of sattva. But as a very tamasic individual, you can enjoy as much Ananda Maya Kosha without any need to grow spiritually. You are just very tamasic and you enjoy the peace of no duality. You understand? So I just want to open that to understand 2 aspects of this limitless bliss that is often present in these teachings as the state of deep sleep. But it has very little value because the big deal is to experience this limitless bliss in the state of the awaker or the vishwa, because you are sharply awake and you experience bliss, because although you are awake, okay, the world appears and you are awake, but your mind is not afflicted by total tamas, which brings about total ignorance, or total rajas that brings a huge discomfort and lack of proper perception of what's going on. You understand? So it's 2 different levels of Ananda Maya Kosha. Avidya refers to an individual, Jiva's ignorance of its nature as awareness. Maya refers to the power of Isvara to delude all Jivas. So Avidya, because often we hear about Maya, and sometimes we say that Maya is beautiful and it's intelligent. Yes, the scientific aspect of Maya is beautiful and intelligent. It's called Ishvara. But then we say that Maya is also this beautiful ignorance. Yeah, this ignorance is the avidya that refers to the condition of the jivas, because it has some sattva, but it is mixed up with Rajas and Tamas. Okay? Jiva's ignorance, avidya refers to Jiva's ignorance of its nature as limitless consciousness. Maya refers to the power given to Ishvara to delude all Jivas. Okay, Maya refers to the power of Ishvara to delude all Jivas. Sentient beings as to their nature as awareness. Yeah, we can say Ishvara is deluding all Jivas. Yeah, there is a passage in the Gita that says, by the power of my Maya, I will delude all Jivas. So Ishvara is playing with the gunas, mix them up, and is going to create a condition that every individual Jiva gets deluded, believes that the body mind is the self, and believes that the universe, the world is real, and that reality, therefore, is duality. I am the self, and the world is also real, and so on. So Maya refers to the power of Isvara to delude all Jivas as to their nature as consciousness. Both Maya and Avidya have no beginning, but Avidya ends when Jiva gains self-knowledge by realizing its non-separation from pure consciousness, awareness. So we can imagine that Maya, Ishvara, Jagat, and Jiva, they are all beginningless, eternal principles, always present, okay, within consciousness. Consciousness offers the substratum in which these principles are present eternally, okay? And the eternal Jiva is called eternal Jiva because it remains eternally there as a principle. But the eternal Jiva does not go for the individual soul. The individual soul, although beginningless, it has an end. And we have to understand this notion of individual soul. That is fundamentally one Jiva, one soul. And in some scriptures, in some different spiritual circles, they call the overall soul and the individual souls. Okay, all these souls belong to this macrocosmic soul, but every account is there to every individual soul. So the individual soul is beginningless because it is integral part of this overall soul, but the individual soul has an end, and the end of the individual soul is the end of the coming into birth for more and more work, more and more processing, vasanas, karma, etc., etc. So it's said that by self-knowledge, the individual soul, the individual jiva, comes to an end, which is a very nice end. And almost nobody likes the idea of ending one's jiva journey. Oh no, oh, I would like to have another round if it's possible. But the scriptures say, and this concept sometimes scares some people, because people sometimes when they are having a good time experience a lot of punya, and then they really appreciate, and often they forget that sometimes in the near future there will be sickness, old age, and death. So therefore, it's better not to be much attached to punya, to a good life, and understand what the scriptures say by killing, this endless, this beginningless process of birth, of incarnation. You understand? And why not to be afraid of put an end to all of that? No? We don't want to put an end to all of that. Why? Because we have unfinished business. We want to complete some things. We want to resolve some things. We want to experience something. We want to know more. We want to experience more. We are not satisfied yet. So if we are not satisfied yet, we don't need to be concerned or worried. We're gonna get another round. You understand? But it comes a point, the scriptures say, that the individual has no residual impulse to come back for another round of experiencing duality. We never know the condition of the field. You may come in the middle of a war. I mean, of course, we're going to come. The time, space, quality of our birth is determined by our Papa Punya. So if we have a lot of Punya and then spiritual Punya, chances are we are not be born in the middle of a war, because people who are born in the middle of a war, they are born to exhaust some Papa. You understand? So now we have credit, we have a lot of Punya to to exhaust, not Papa. So, but this permits awareness. Avidya refers to the individual Jiva, ignorance of its nature as awareness. Maya refers to the power of Isvara to delude all Jivas. Both Maya and Avidya have no beginning, but Avidya ends when Jiva gains self-knowledge. Oh, great! So now one Jiva got self-knowledge, Avidya is finished for all Jivas. No, unfortunately, it's not like that. You know, Avidya is a personal phenomenon that occurs to the mind of every jiva. And once we remove that ignorance, we may have a positive effect in the field, in the Dharma field, but it does not mean that you remove anybody else avidya. It's one personal effort that counts. Avidya ends when jiva gains self-knowledge by realizing its non-separation from pure consciousness. Maya reverts to a seed state and deep sleep and sleeps. Maya reverts to a deep state and sleeps in awareness when one macrocosmic cycle has run its course, only to appear again after trillions of years, some say. Pralaya. It is eternal, sometimes manifest, sometimes unmanifest. Okay, so the same way the jiva goes round and round and round, the individual jiva, one day it puts an end of the cycle of reincarnation. It dissolves itself in consciousness, as to speak. No? The same way Maya, again and again, it somehow it shrinks, shrinks back the universe, the physical and the subtle, all into the macrocosm, causal body, the seed of the universe, and then it brings Maya to sleep for only God knows how many trillions of years or billions of years, okay? Until it comes back again. When it comes again, it comes from the same egg, from the same seed. It was just dormant, and then it springs and it comes back again. So says the scriptures. So how are we doing? Ruth has got to Anandamaya Kosh. So the evolution of matter, Panchikarana Prakriya. This teaching clarifies the relationship between the individual jiva, the world, Jagat, and awareness in its role as the creator. So this teaching is going to unfold how the creator, Isvara, okay, is going to bring about the jiva and Jagat, out of its pure Sattva, which is the very fabric of the creator. Clarity with reference to this teaching is liberation for awareness. Awareness can be liberated because it's not actually bound. So this is something very nice. Clarity, if we really understand these teachings, we think a lot of the time that the teachings are not relevant to self-knowledge. But here, it's probably Ramji has added it. He said that clarity with reference to these teachings on the evolution of matter is conducive to liberation for awareness. So he does not say liberation for the jiva. On the other hand, we know that awareness or consciousness is always free. There is no question of freedom or slavery. It's not neither bound nor free consciousness. It's beyond. So it says that clarity with reference to this teaching is liberation for awareness. So awareness is apparently bound by Maya because it appears as reflected in the subtle body of the Jivas as the individual soul. And then it suffers from avidya and believes to be bound to the body mind and bound to the objects of relationships it develops. Okay, so clarity with reference to this teaching is liberation for awareness. And then Ranji comes and says, awareness can be liberated because it's not actually bound. It's another interesting statement, because if awareness was not bound, it does not need liberation. But somehow Maya is such an incredible thing that makes the impossible possible. How something which is already free, ever free, beyond bondage and freedom, how can it experience this sense of imprisonment, So it's Maya. So awareness can be liberated by the understanding that awareness is always ever free. Of course, this 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 phrase is direct to us, not to awareness, but awareness is not in relation to any language, cannot be addressed by anyone in Nietzsche because it belongs to a different order. So this is direct to all jivas. It says that you awareness can be liberated. You as awareness can be liberated because you as awareness have been always free. So therefore, there is no question of doing anything to become free because you are out of the cage, have always been free. Okay? Never actually bound. But owing to avidya, awareness appearing as the Jiva believes to be bound. Its bondage is simply a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, a lack of clarity, which is impossible without the help of the scriptures. Even the rishis, when they start really trying to understand what is the reality here, what is the nature of this mind, what is, what's going on here, what is this knowingness here, So they have to have the help of the Shwara. Shwara revealed this knowledge to them, but at least, they were ready for that. They were asking for that. And then the whole thing unfolds. So it is the lack of this clarity which is understood as a video, too much excessive rajas and tamas operating, in the mind, in the subtle body, or in the intellect, too much rajas and tamas. Rajas is going to be extroverting and agitating our intellect, and stressing and then one loses focus and becomes dispersive and so on. And tamas makes it really foggy and dull and so on. So it's the excess of rajas and tamas produce this lack of clarity, which is common. But some individuals, since every configuration of jiva is unique, some jivas develop more sattva, and then they develop less extroversion and more contemplation, and then they start asking themselves this most existential question. And then this knowledge comes as those scriptural revelations. Okay, its bondage is simply a lack of clarity with reference to what is real and what is apparently real, mithya. Who would have thought about that? Who would have imagined that there is a different sort. There is a third category of in reality, in the universe. There is that which is real, that which is absolutely unreal, meaning to say it does not exist at all. But who would have imagined that there is a third category that's called mithya, that which exists but it's not real, that which is apparently real? How we would have get to know that without the help of this revealed scriptural knowledge? So those individuals with enough sattva have asked for, and this knowledge was revealed. Okay, and the understanding about satya, the only reality, and mithya, the superimposition of sattva on satya, this apparent reality called mithya, is all there is to the human experience. And this understanding is what brings about the freedom. Okay, let's see the verse 18 here. By the will of awareness in the form of Isvara, and for the experience of Prajna, the five subtle elements, space, air, fire, water, and earth, arose from the part of Prakriti in which Tamas predominates. Okay, now the texts begin unfolding the way consciousness, which is there without doing anything, providing the substratum, okay? And then Maya comes, and then consciousness is having this next intruder, we say, intruder. First, consciousness is there, and then it appears an apparent intruder, which is Maya. Now, consciousness says, what is that? I live alone here, I don't like to have any companion. But then it comes and says, oh, okay, it's just an appearance here. And then Maya brings about Isvara. Right? By the will of awareness in appearing in the form of Isvara, the intelligent cause of the universe, and for the experience of the Jivas, the Prajna Jivas, for the experience of the Prajna Jivas. So again and again, the scriptures, they present us with an amazing topic, amazing concept, notion, which is a fact, because for those who believe that these scriptures are pure knowledge delivered from Isvara. So it says that this universe was created for the experience of the Jivas. It was created for what is the purpose of creating a universe? To create a universe, you need a creator, and then you need the universe. What is the purpose of going, creating a beautiful play, going to the theater, and then present the play, and we say, but no audience is allowed, So what is the purpose of creating this universe so beautifully designed, and then have no jivas to experience it? You understand? So we need the agent. We need the agent, the entity, which is designed to experience and know this creation. By the will of awareness in the form of Isvara, and for the experience of Prajna Jiva, the five subtle elements. So we know that out of the Sattva Guna, Rajas and Tamas develop, and then Isvara start controlling or manipulating the energies, and then it brings about what? It brings about the five subtle elements. And these five subtle elements, they all have these three energies as well. Okay? We have Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. All the five elements have these three energies. And the denser the element is, more of the denser energy Tamas it is. The subtler is the five elements, such as space, the more of Sattva there is. Okay? So we have these five elements. They have different shares or proportions of these three energies. And these five subtle elements, they need to grossify so that it can become later on the physical material universe that we live in. But here we're talking about the subtle elements. So the five subtle elements, space, air, fire, water, and earth, arose from the part of Prakriti in which Tamas predominates. So we need Tamas. The moment that we start bringing about a manifestation, it comes out of Tamas. Why? Doesn't matter that it's very subtle. Doesn't matter which is just the seed of the physical universe. You cannot create out of Sattva alone. You cannot create out of Sattva in association with Rajas energy. We need to have Tamas, and out of this Tamas, and then we bring about as something, okay? The five subtle elements is the first development of Maya Ishvara out of the three energies, okay? It arose from the part of Prakriti in which Tamas predominate. So we understood that, huh? It needs Tamas. Tamas is what brings about the universe before it goes divide and combine the subtle elements, before it shows us the subtle elements, okay? It has everything, and in the subtle level, it's pulled the subtle, the sattvic aspect of these five elements. These five elements in the subtle, when they come into subtle elements, is the sattvic aspects of these five elements, okay? So, but it's coming out of Tamas because it's already a grossification of the more subtle energies, such as subtle Sattva and Tamas. Can I have some more water, please? I'm a little bit of yours. Prakriti means that which can be molded in manifold objects. So this is the Prakriti. Prakriti here refers to Tamoguna, okay? In the macrocosm reflecting medium, the tamasic predominant aspect, that is what is often referred to Prakriti as nature, okay? Prakriti means nature, these basic elements that can be molded into manifold objects, okay? Predominant tamas is called Prakriti, as we have seen before, okay? So when we have too much tamas in the medium, the reflected medium, and then it brings about the Prakriti, which is nature, which is the subtle elements that grossify to become the physical material nature we know. Prakriti means that which can be molded into manifold objects. Predominant tamas is called Prakriti. It is inert. It cannot do anything because, why tamas cannot do anything? Because Rajas is suppressed. That's why my table here does not move around, thanks God, because it's very tamasic. So it's suppressed, Rajas is suppressed, and of course, Sattva is also suppressed. It's inert. It does not shine consciousness. We can see its existence. Rajas and Sattva is suppressed. It cannot think or feel because Sattva is also suppressed. So all objects of consumption, they have this suppression of Rajas and Sattva. Right? So we like to eat a bar of chocolate. So just imagine if a bar of chocolate would have too much Sattva. And then when you bite it, it starts yelling, yeah, wow, 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 it hurts. No, it does not have any sensitivity. There's not enough Sattva. And just imagine if it had some Rajas, you get your bar of chocolate, when you're going to eat it, just runs away, And then you have to go all over the place looking for, chasing your bar of chocolate. So no, Rajas and Sattva is suppressed. Therefore, they are objects of consumption, okay? And they are meant for what? For Jiva's experience. Thanks God. Okay, so we can go there and implant our carrot, and the carrot is going to be there, and it's not going to run away when you go there to harvest it. And when you eat it, it does not begin crying on your plate. Just imagine, oh, it's painful. You are cooking me, and so on. It's meant for Jiva's consumption experience. The world is not for Ishwara's consumption. The world is not for Ishwara's experience, because Ishwara is not a consumer of experience. It's not a Jiva who has ragas and dveshas, desires and fears, aversions. So no, the world is there, the game is set up, so we develop these elements and then it grossifies. We have the world, everything is based on just different proportions of the energies and constitutions, and then we have the jivas getting caught up into what's called samsara. I want to, yummy, 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 I want to consume objects and I want what I like and I don't want what I do not like. Yeah? So that's how we get caught up. The word is not for Ishwara's consumption or experience, because Ishwara is not a jiva driven by desires and fears that creates karma, punya, papa, karma, that gets jivas caught up into this wheel of samsara. Ishwara has no karma either. So Ishwara is free from cause and effect, actions and results. It does not do anything. It creates, it grossifies, to create the very, very, how you say, stage on which the jivas can run after what they wish to have, wish to maintain, and wish to push away. So it creates everything, but it has no karma. It does not have desire. It does not have will. We don't understand very much the motivation behind Maya Shwara, but as it seems, it's clearly, easily understood if we follow the logic presented by the scriptures. That is this intelligent order or system that provides the jivas with this stage. Only the jivas have desires and fears. And then it says, okay, so you need a playground. You need a place in which you can go and process your likes and dislikes and your desires and fears, and your vasanas, and until you develop a clear contemplative mind to ask the most fundamental questions, which is what is the nature, the true nature of this matrix? You remember the movie Matrix? Very few individuals are going to question the matrix. I want to know what's the truth behind here. What is the true nature of this Jagat? What is the true nature of this Jiva, this body-mind complex? It creates the world and appears as the karma dharma matrix in which the jivas play or sport. Isn't it beautifully designed? I mean, it's such a game, huh? What do you think, Gert? Why did Maheshwara decide to play such a game using us, the jivas? Huh? I mean, they cannot do anything without us. Need to have us there. Okay, let's create a playground for these fools to chase objects. Huh? Oh, and they forgot that they don't need anything. That they are just the very source of security and joy and so on. Very strange. It delivers the results of karma through the laws operating in the matrix. So this matrix is beautifully designed, and it's governed by very precise laws. Nothing escapes these laws. We can deceive one another, but nobody can deceive Ishwara's laws. So we can do a lot of things, and get away with it, but nobody can get away from Ishwara's laws. Huh? The material world for the Jiva, the material world is for the Jiva because it has previous karma. Huh? The material world was created for the Jivas. And then what would be a most logical questions? They say, oh yes, because the Jivas, they have karma, and then they need this material stage, this dharma field, this field governed by laws is present again and again to the Jivas. Why? Because they have karmas and they need the stage to process karma. And then what would be the most intelligent question here? But how the hell did it all begin? So in the beginning, nobody had karma. And then how did Ishvara prepare the stage if the stage has to be made in accordance to the macrocosm body of all vasanas? You understand? It has to be shaped according to the vasanas of all souls put together. So how Ishvara brought about the first creation? Okay. The word is for the jivas because the jivas have previous karma. If you wonder how the jiva get karma in the first creation cycle, the answer is that there is no first creation, as we know. Creation is not linear, it's cyclical. Therefore, it's beginningless. Who the hell would have imagined that? I mean, that's why some people say, no, I mean, there is something strange here. These rishis, I think they were drinking some sort of ayahuasca or, or some special herbs that they came up with all these ideas because nobody would, guess something like that. What? The world never began. There is no beginning. The world is eternally present as in a cycle. Okay, a cycle. The seed brings about the trees, which brings about the seeds. And this, there was no original seed. There was no original tree. So it's something that somehow the mind gets a little bit uncomfortable once contemplate those principles. But as we expose our minds to Vedanta, we begin develop the picture. Yes, of course. This is an apparent reality, and it all comes from a seed. This seed is Maya, macrocosm causal body. That's why it has no beginning, because it was never created. What is not real can never be created. It does not have a beginning of creation. When you create a table, you create in time. And the table seems to be real, but the universe, from the perspective of reality, was never created because it's not really there. It's just a superimposition. Okay? That's the only way we can understand creation is by understanding that it's not really real. Therefore, it was never created. It's there all the time as a reflection. You understand? It's a reflection. Creation is out of time. Time comes, with Maya. But consciousness is beyond time. Creation is not really within time, because if we say the time begins here, the creation begins here, and then again we have to understand that in order to say this is the zero time, we can always say that in respect to whatsoever measure of time was there before. One has to be there to say, okay, here begins time. And if I'm here to say here begins time, so how about, what is before this determination? You understand? So it's impossible to have any logical argument to prove the non-existence or the beginning of time. Because the beginning of creation implies the non-existence of creation. Therefore, here begins. You understand? And it's impossible by logic to prove that. A lot of people have tried. There are many, many books written, philosophies written around that. Creation is out of time. It's one eternal object that seems to change but does not change. It's energy. As we know, energy can never be destroyed. Energy is just again and again transformed. Energy, matter, matter and energy. Energy is growthified matter, matter is subtle energy. So all of this is just a field of energy that can never be destroyed. The same way the scientists can verify that experientially, that energy, these particles that appear to be energy, they can never be destroyed, but they are just again and again transformed into something or other. Creation is out of time. It's one eternal object that seems to change but does not change really. Isvara is the intelligent cause of this creation. It's Sattva, it's the knowledge. But it's also the material cause, and it's also the energetic cause, as I like to put as well. Okay, it's out of Rajas that it can project, but it needs the raw material from Tamas, the material cause. So Isvara is the three energies, and it's not only these three energies. Fundamentally, it's the efficient, intelligent cause, and it's also manifest as the Jagat. Jagat is nothing but the grossification of Ishvara, because when Jagat is fully manifest, is still this intelligent is what is keeping it, sustaining it with its laws. It's beautiful. It's intelligent. It is Ishvara present three-dimensionally. The word is Ishvara demonstrate three-dimension. You see the beauty of Jagat because it's all the time being controlled, sustained, managed by these laws, intelligent laws we call nature. Nature is very intelligent, as we know. Okay, we are over our time. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we're going to carry on next week from this paragraph here. And we meet again. Huh? Yeah, we meet again Thursday with Q&A, and we meet again next Monday, Shwara willing, of course. Okay. So thank you again. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. We meet again soon. Arrivederci. Bye, Elizabeth. Bye-bye. Bye, Gert. Bye, Aline, Karen,
Arrivederci.
Rose. Arrivederci, Claudio.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Alindo. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.